Good Friday morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a great sports week. I am Bob Cooney. He is Anthony Sanfilippo. We welcome you to our OnPattison podcast. Lots to talk about. Phillies, Eagles, maybe a little Sixers. We have a special guest today. Michael Barkann is going to be joining us in about 20 minutes. We got Joe Wechter producing. Have a beautiful day outside, Anthony. Haven't had a lot of them lately, but good one today. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, Bobby. I'm looking forward to getting back down to the ballpark tonight for Phillies Cardinals to watch the streaking Phils. They haven't lost since they walked through the corn maze.
No, I think you brought them some magic out there in Iowa, and I think you had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, look at this, Bob. Most wins in August in Major League Baseball, 13. No one else has as many as the Phillies. That's pretty incredible. They've shaved 4.5 games off of the Braves lead in the National League East. They're now just 5 out. I know that's you want to see that number get a little bit smaller before you start to get excited, but I think that when you look at the schedule, it's in front of the Phillies right now, Bob. They have an opportunity to really close the gap against Atlanta. I mean, the Braves are in Milwaukee this weekend, and the Phillies are playing the Cardinals at home, right? So you could even pick up another game or two this weekend and really start to get things exciting when they play the Braves 7 times in 10 days starting Labor Day weekend. So it's really going to be interesting.
Yeah, Braves get a win last night. Phillies were down to 4.5 going into yesterday. Braves get a win yesterday to up it to 5. That number 4, Ant, when I see that 4, like that kind of gets me.
That gets you, right?
Gets me going a little bit. Yeah, like is this something that's going on here? Could it be something that gets to be really special? But the thing about this team, man, you mentioned 13 wins in August. The streakiness of them is just so strange. But I do think they're playing their best baseball of the year right now.
Yeah, hands down, they're playing the best baseball of the year. And you're right. It's like I've never been as confounded with the Phillies as I have been this year. Like, I've been doing a Phillies podcast since 2018. And in all that time, I really felt year in and year out that I had a good sense of what that team was.
Right.
Like I knew that they were better, in those early years, that they were improved, but they weren't quite playoff worthy. And if you go back and I don't want to toot my own horn, but in 2022, I was we did a show at the All-Star break, and I said this team's going to make a run to the NLCS. Of course, they went to the World Series. Everybody thought I was crazy at the time, but like there were things that you could kind of see about them that you kind of started to like. And so I've been pretty good with what I've gotten out of the Phillies or my expectations of the team. This year's team, I don't know how to assess them. I don't. I've been wrong at times. I've been right at times. It's just all over the place. I still believe that they are a playoff team. I always have. I never lost faith in that. But I'll tell you, at the beginning of the year, I said to myself, this team is a team that's going to go to the NLCS. I don't think that they get past the Dodgers there. Now I'm not sure what they're going to do in the postseason. I have no idea. If they're playing like this, they could get there. I could turn out to be right. If they play like they played before this, then they're going to get bounced in the first round. So who knows what this team is? They are so Jekyll and Hyde, but right now you're getting the best version of them, no doubt.
And why is that, Ant? Why are we getting the best version now? Now, there's many things you can go through. It's kind of a rhetorical question, but I do have a question for you here. It's you get Luis Ariz, and I think really solidifies the lineup and puts guys in different places, maybe in the right places of where they should be. You're getting good starting pitching, not only from the big three, although Wheeler's been a little wonky lately, but I think he's fine, and we'll get into that in a little bit also. But Aaron Nola, wow. And as I said to you, I was in the car most of the time listening to the game with Aaron Nola on the mound the other night. I watched some of the replay, but not all of it. What is the resurgence with him, man? Like, what is going on? Because I'll tell you my honest opinion. I thought the ABS was something like, ooh, maybe he can't get back to where he was because there's no nicking at the corners and getting calls an inch or two off the plate anymore, really, all that much. And that's what Aaron Nola needed. But what do you see in his resurgence, Ann?
Yeah, and I do want to get to will the real Slim Nola please stand up? Yeah, that's right. I want to get to some of the other things that you talked about there earlier too. You know, the Arise effect, because I think that there's somebody else that has benefited more than the
Yes.
rest of the team with Arise. But as far as Nola is concerned, you're right. I mean, ABS was killing him in a lot of ways, in the sense that he could not get pitches that he used to get, calls on the corners that the umpires would give him, because now teams can challenge it, right? And so a lot of those strikes get turned into balls, and then he's got to get more in zone. And when he's in zone, his pitches get hit, especially his fastballs and his cutter. They're not that effective. But his curveball is still elite. It's an elite curveball. It's one of the best curveballs in baseball. But what changed for him was bringing back the changeup. He used to throw a changeup pretty regularly back when he was younger, and he was, I think go back to 2018, he was third in the Cy Young voting. That changeup was an effective pitch for him. And over time, for whatever reason, it just kind of like he kind of lost a feel for it, didn't throw it as much. It kind of fell behind the cutter in usage, really became his fifth pitch and wasn't thrown that often. He's kind of brought the changeup back. And so what the changeup does is it gets thrown out of the same arm slot as his fastball and his sinker. And so it keeps hitters off balance now. And by utilizing that pitch more, they don't know when that ball is coming out of that arm slot, if it's going to be off speed or if it's going to be a fastball. So they got to kind of wait that extra half second to recognize it. That sets up the curveball even more. Yeah. Because now the curveball is a breaking pitch, and it's a breaking pitch, but you're waiting that extra half second to determine if it's fastball or change, and then you find yourself getting front foot, lunging out, kind of chasing a pitch that's out of the zone that you really didn't want to swing at anyway. And that's what's really worked for Aaron Nola. Is it something that he can continue to do? You hope he can. I think what this has done, this run that he's been on, I think it's 14 of his last 16 starts, he's given up 3 runs or fewer. And even over his last 5 starts, his ERA is like 2.51. Right. Like, he's been really, really good. Do I think he can do that consistently? I still think they're going to get a clunker here and there. I mean, he does get hurt by the long ball a lot. He's given up 11 home runs in the last 16 runs he's given up, 11 have come on home runs. Yeah. Right. So like he's going to give up the long ball. So can he do it? I think he can. I think he can be, he's not going to be a top of the rotation guy, but when you watch him pitch now, you kind of feel a little bit more comfortable with Aaron Nola starting a playoff game as your 4th starter than maybe you would have before the All-Star break. And that doesn't mean that he's going to go out there and throw 7 innings for you. It just means, hey, Aaron Nola can maybe get us through 4 or 5 innings in a playoff game. And that's more than we would have expected a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah. And then backing that up, I mean, Andrew Painter is the number 5, has been really solid over his life. Now, look, a bad first inning the other day, but when you look at games, you have to look at bigger things. He had a bad first inning, really bad first inning. I thought the bigger story of that game was a rookie, after having such a rough first half of the season and all the things that he went through, going back down to the minors, coming through that inning and pitching well for 4 more innings. I think that was the bigger picture. And I thought mentally he had to do that to get through that. I thought was huge. Yeah, the first inning sucked, and giving up a grand slam you hate to see, and you put your team in a hole right away. But for him to stay with it for 4 more innings, I thought that was as telltale as him going out there and pitching a no-hitter through 5, like he did.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And it's funny because when you go back and look at that first inning, he had 0 command, right? Like he walks guy. Right. He couldn't. His first 6 pitches were balls. Then he got a couple walks. The grand slam happens, and the funny thing is that the pitch before the home run, it was a breaking ball dead center of the plate that was hit foul. It was crushed, but hit foul, and he follows it up with a breaking ball dead center of the plate that becomes a grand slam. And then he beans the next guy in the head, right? So he's all over. He's all over the place. Yeah. To be able to rein it in, that's a good sign, right? That shows that he's got the right makeup. He's not going to let a bad outing, a bad inning, kind of break him down and kind of destroy him. And it's funny if you look at, there were some analytics stuff that came out after that game, and this is by independent evaluators, not by the Phillies, that said that his fastball was the best it's been since Tommy John surgery, and that of all the pitchers who pitched on Sunday, when you look at like this stuff, this new stuff analytics, it was the best of any pitcher in baseball on Sunday.
What's the criteria for that? Do you know?
You're going to ask me to give you that
Well,
kind of
because I
breakdown?
think most people will go right to velocity when you say fastball, but obviously that's not it. With
No,
Aaron
stuff
Nola.
is it's movement related, like
Okay.
how much of a break, how much spin rate you're getting, how much vertical break you're getting, horizontal break. I think depending on the pitch and things like that. And so his stuff played on Sunday better than it has in any of his other starts. He just lacked command in the first inning, but then it was really good from innings 2 through 5. I know he does give up the solo homer to Cody Clemens, but that aside, really was good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Andrew Painter just because of that, some analytics stuff that comes out tells you that he's going to be just fine. The Phillies going out and signing Nestor Cortez tells you that they're not 100% convinced themselves, right? I mean, because they just went out and got a starting pitcher, right, to kind of be a depth guy. And it's not for anyone that's in your top 4 right now. It's to kind of see if Painter doesn't do what he needs to do, then that's probably where Nestor Cortez is going to go. But I do think that it's there. There's something there for Andrew Painter. And that's the thing that's why I'm most intrigued this weekend with this Cardinal series about the Saturday game, Bob, because that's the one Painter's starting. Yeah. I think there are so many things that will tell us a lot about where the Phillies are going to be going forward with that spot in the rotation, with their bullpen, et cetera, based on how Andrew Painter pitches against the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Zach Wheeler, we talked about just a little bit, has been a little bit off lately.
Yeah.
And we were talking to him after his last start the other day, and I kind of was like, okay, as an observer, he's got this, because what he said was, if it was something major that I could, that I'm still trying to work through, he goes, that would be cause for concern. It was off of a question. And he said, but no, it's not. It's minor things. It's a couple of little minor things. The other night, he said he couldn't get his breaking stuff over the plate. His fastball was fine. The velocity was 96, not only on his first pitch, but like his last fastball that he threw, it was still up at 96 miles an hour. So that's not a concern. He's saying there's just a couple of little things that he's not worried about. And we've both been around him a little bit. He kind of wears his emotions on his sleeves, although he's very low key. You can tell when he's ticked off. You can tell when something's bothering him about himself. To me, he didn't appear that way the other night. He was just, one thing is a little bit off. I can fix it. It's been a bunch of little things. I got this. I think he'll be okay from here on out, Ann.
I do too. I want to I want him to get some length back. I think that's kind of the thing. When he says one or two things are off, look, he only gave up 2 runs in 5 innings. It's not like it's not like it was a bad start, but throwing 98 pitches in 5 innings is uncharacteristic for Zach Wheeler.
And he's 4 walks also, right?
Yeah, the walks, right? He's not doesn't have the command. And there's certainly a little bit of frustration there. It was interesting, Bob. This is something that's kind of fun for me, in that back when they were in Baltimore at the beginning of the month, I took my family, and my mom, God bless her, is a big JT Realmuto fan. And so I thought, what better way to have her enjoy this than to actually go stand at Camden Yards out over the bullpen where they warm up, right? And just so happened Zach Wheeler was warming up that day. And so we were literally standing right over them so my mom can watch JT. And it was the first time I got to watch Zach Wheeler's bullpen up close. And I got to see a lot of what goes into that, right? And so you could tell when he's trying to fix something, or when he's thinking about something that might not be. He's talking to Caleb Cotham, whatever. And I can tell you that he's always trying to figure that out. The one thing maybe we forget, Bob, sometimes in this season is what he came back from.
Yeah,
that thoracic outlet syndrome, right? And he came back relatively fast from that thing. And, we weren't thinking he was going to be back until like Memorial Day, and then he's back the third week of April. Maybe this is a little bit of that, his body catching up to him a little bit.
Yeah.
I've just been wondering, maybe that's a thing, right? As Joe Wechter says, wheels might be a little bit unbalanced, right? And so I don't think he's hurt by any stretch of imagination. I'm not trying to suggest that, but what I'm saying is that maybe he's got to learn how his body is reacting to the strain of all these innings coming off of that thoracic outlet surgery. So, I think he'll be okay. I'm not super worried about Zach Wheeler.
No, I'm not worried
I believe our special guest is a couple minutes early.
That's good. We love our special guests, and we love when our special guests are a couple minutes early. So we are going to bring on Michael Barkann of NBC Sports Philadelphia, an icon here in the Philadelphia sports scene. There he is, Michael. What's happening, buddy?
I was just waiting, man. I was just waiting my turn. That's all.
Your turn is always up, Michael. You know that. If you're in the house,
I just wanted to be here early for you. You know what I'm saying? I got Benji. Look, Benji's waiting. And we're both just hanging loose, man. What's up, Anthony?
How you doing, Michael? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you.
Good.
I see some boat action going on there, Michael. Are you down the shore?
Down the shore, yes, indeed.
Nice.
You know what it was? It was during COVID, and I just thought I love the beach. You know what I mean? And with that thing was we were all quarantined, and the realtor who sold us this place, we're in a condo in AC. Unit number is but it's like we just don't know how long we have, and so I just like, let's do it, so this is not my place. This is just somebody I met in the lobby. I said, can I go up? I've got to do OnPattison. Can I go up for a second?
Good man. You got your priorities. So, Michael, we're talking a little bit of Phillies, and you've seen a lot of it. You do that, that pre and post game thing with those numbnuts that you have with Ricky Batalico and not Ben Davis. I'm not going to call him a numbnuts.
Okay.
Yeah, Ruben Amaro and all. But we were just talking about Aaron Nola and the turnaround that he's had, and it's been unbelievable. He was incredible the other night. And you get to talk behind the scenes with Ricky and Ben and Ruben, who know the game so thoroughly. What do they or you attribute to what's going on with Aaron Nola?
I think they really attribute it to the way he's gripping the baseball, the way he's coming over the ball. Ricky always talks about be a Ferris wheel, not a merry-go-round. Come over the top like that, not a merry-go-round. I know that Aaron Nola still has it. We've seen that for ourselves. So the fact that he had fallen off the way he had was really surprising and disappointing. And I also understand that it's not just this season. It went into last season as well. But if you look at his numbers over the last several years, they're all pretty much intact. The other thing with Nola is that the ABS system, which prevents him from working on the edges, which he likes to do. He likes to throw the ball off the plate to get guys to reach out and swing at that ball because they're not really sure if it's a strike or not, or it's the illusion of a strike, even though it might be a ball. That was taken away from him because these hitters, if they want, can confirm whether it was a ball or a strike. So they're like, all right, you prove it to me. You show me that it's a strike. So it's made him come in more into the zone. When you come into the zone, a lot of times you get beat around. He's not the type of guy who's overpowering with his fastball. I mean, he could throw it in the low 90s, sometimes the mid 90s, but he works more on movement and deception with his pitches. And I think that was taken away. That was one thing that really hurt him. The other thing was the pitch clock. I think he was very methodical in the way he selected his pitches. He prepared. I don't know if it was conditioning, but I'll tell you what. You look at his legs; they're way bigger than they looked to me to be before. He looks like a string bean on the mound. But you look under that uniform a little bit, not like you look, Bob, but they just.
I'm not looking under anybody's uniform, Michael.
But I mean, he's a muscular, and
You're gonna get me kicked out of the clubhouse before I get in there.
He's a muscular dude, which you need. That's obviously where you get your power is your butt, your quads, your hamstrings, and I think he's really worked on that. But even though he's older, and Bobby, I think you know what I always say: when you throw a ball up in the air, when it gets to its apex, it doesn't keep going up; it comes down. And Aaron Nola, unfortunately, as we all have, has reached his apex and is coming down. But his trajectory is way higher, certainly, than most mortals. And although I don't know about most top major league pitchers, so he's still trying to make it happen. And Nolan's nice undercarriage. He's got a beautiful. That's got to be Joe Wechter.
That's Joe Wechter. Yes, it is.
Nice undercarriage. By the way, I had a dream about Angelo last night, and it was completely nice and normal. He was wearing an orange houndstooth 3-piece suit. Just wanted while I saw Joe Wechter's handiwork. Anyway. So that's the story on Nola. But I think I said to Ricky the other night, I said, I mean no disrespect to Aaron Nola, but the Phillies finally have a fourth starter. And when you think of how erratic he's been, and when you think of even with the other night, he has given up at least one home run in every game he's pitched going back to July 8th. And every start he's pitched at home going back to I think the start before that, like July 4th or 3rd or something like that. So that's still there, and we've known that. But I think his deception is better, and he's striking guys out again.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what the interesting thing too is, Michael, is in Nola's last 5 starts, I think he's given up a total of 16 runs, or maybe it's not the last 5 starts, maybe it's the last 7 starts, whatever it is. It's 16 runs. Of those 16 runs, he's also given up 11 home runs. I think it's since the All-Star break. 16 runs, 11 home runs. So you're either hitting a home run off him or you're not getting anything. Right. And so that's the thing. Like, he's not letting up anything else other than those home runs. I think that's part of what's led to his success. The question I wanted to ask you, kind of shifting off of Nola a little bit, is, you guys wear the emotion of the city on your sleeves on those pre and post game shows, right? As things are going. Has it been even crazier this year with the Phillies? Because one thing I was saying before you came on, I was telling Bob, like, I've every year I've had a really good feel for what this team is going into the season, throughout the season, whatever the case might be. But this year it's all over the place. And has there been a wilder ride, like, as the season goes on for you guys watching this team than 2026?
Anthony, one, that's a great point. Two, I don't know that there has been. I think you might be right. And when you look at the lineup, I always say, look at the lineup and look at the star names. And it goes back to my Apex analogy. I mean, these guys are, if they're not superstars, they're stars. In Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner and Zach Wheeler, and you can pick guys up and down the lineup and the rotation that are stars to one degree or another. But the stars got to play like stars, and if they don't, that's when you have a problem. And when Dave Dombrowski and Preston Mattingly assembled this team, and Don Mattingly put the lineup together, you're counting on guys to hit to their baseball averages, to their trading cards, and that hasn't been the case at all times this season. I really thought they were toast. I really thought coming out of the All-Star break, this is when you really want to hit your stride, pick it up. It's the second half of the season. You've had that 4 or 5 day break, and I thought that they were going to be just fine. And when they went into that losing streak and they really got crushed the way they did, I thought, this team is not only not going to win the division, they're not even going to make the playoffs. They're just fading from view. There was one point, I think they were on pace for like 93 or 94 wins, probably in the first 81 games. And that fell off to like 82 wins at one point before they got into the 6-game win streak, and I thought they're just gonna. You don't see playoff teams with 82 wins. Maybe sometimes in a real down year, but otherwise you're looking at least like 89, 90 wins. And now they're back up to almost 90. They're almost on pace for 90 wins. And if they keep it going, and I hopefully I expect them to just wipe the floor with St. Louis, especially with what happened out there. But yeah, I was very surprised, and it has not been. I don't think there's a season in recent memory that's been a wilder ride. And I think one of the reasons for that is you look at these guys, and Dave Dombrowski said they're going to be just fine because look at the back of their baseball cards, and everything's going to be great. But when you have aging superstars, and the lineup is sometimes, I mean, I still think that Luis Ariz should be batting second. Let Turner lead off, Ariz second, Harper third, Schwarber fourth, and I think everything would be great. But Ariz has been good. Same with the infield configuration. No, but it's working. So who am I to argue with the success of it? I'm hopefully now they're gonna keep this win streak going, because you both know that the schedule gets a lot tougher.
Yeah.
What that means in today's Major League Baseball, I don't know, because the Los Angeles Dodgers have been stumbling, fumbling, bumbling all over the place. And if that can happen in a team that's going for its third straight World Series championship, then it can happen to any team in baseball. And I'm just hoping that the opposite is, I'm hoping that the opposite is true for the Phillies, that they'll just continue on a tear. But they have Houston. They've got 7 games with Atlanta, the division leader, as we know. The last 6 games are Milwaukee and then Tampa Bay. If you got to make the playoffs, let alone win the division, that's a tough road. Those last 6 games with Milwaukee. And I'm trying to remember. I think they're all 6 are at home, I believe.
They are. They all are here. Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's funny, Michael. Yeah, I was on a couple of, like, a radio show and another thing earlier this week, a couple of days ago, and the first question both asked me are the Phillies back? And honestly, it came out. I wasn't prepared for that question. I said, back to what? Like, what do you mean? And it goes to what you and Anthony were saying. This team is kind of strange. You don't know who they are at times. What they are sometimes is really good. What they are sometimes isn't very good. But I do want to ask you this: the approach thing, the big meeting, and Anthony had this. It was over a month ago. The big meeting that happened. I really wonder how this went down. Like, was it was it like an Alcoholic Anonymous meeting where hi, I'm Bryce Harper. Hi, Bryce. I swing it low and away fastballs, and I strike out too often. Everybody went, way to go, Bryce. Good job, Bryce.
Thanks for
and
admitting
then it carried
that.
on. Like, what do you think happened in this meeting where approach was a 4-letter word to this offense not too long ago, and now it kind of drives them?
I think they probably look. You can't fire Don Mattingly. They already fired Rob Thompson. You can't fire the second manager. And I said that at the time after Mattingly came aboard, and they went through, I don't know, it was 4 or 5 games, losses in a row, and I said they ain't firing the manager. So that's not going to happen. And the only thing they have left really is to look each other in the eye and say we're failing to perform to our capability. And I think that's what it was. And it wouldn't surprise me. And Anthony, if you know the answer to this, please let me know. It wouldn't surprise me if Kyle Schwarber called that meeting, maybe Bryce Harper, but someone who was veteran on that team, and there are a lot of those, or JT Realmuto, who's man of few words seemingly. If they let's gather around. Look, we are much better than this. Let's start showing it right now, because otherwise our playoff future is down the drain. And also, I don't know how many more chances we're going to get to be in this situation, because we're all getting a little long in the tooth. So let's do what we can do. And so I think that, and then there's the addition of Luis Ariz. I know he might not walk much when you look at his on-base percentage, but he is a very practiced eye, and he takes his pitches long at bats, and I love that. And maybe he shamed other guys to say, holy smokes, this guy's batting .324 when he came to Philadelphia. Not so much now, but he's back on the come. And so maybe we ought to try that. Maybe we ought to keep our bat on our shoulder every once in a while. And now you've seen Bryson Stott, who's been pretty good anyway, before Arise, but you see him with these 10 pitch at bats, 15 pitch at bats. And that allows the pitcher to get tired, his teammates to take a better look at what the pitcher's got. And they, every time I think they should be getting more, it's a bullpen game. They should be getting more runs against these guys. They stink. Just give it a little time. Certainly over these last 6 games. But it's a weird bet. That's why, Anthony, I go back to your point. It's a weird game, baseball. It's a beautiful game. You know, they talk about soccer being a beautiful game. Football, baseball is a beautiful game.
It really is.
It's like life.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll tell you what, here's my theory. So I think that the hitting coaches have been preaching this. This is not something that's brand new. I know that they had the big meeting at the end of July and whatever, and they've responded, but it's not like they haven't been told this before, right? Like hitting coaches have had these conversations with these players repeatedly, not just this year, last year, year before, whatever. What I think has kind of galvanized them is Bryce Harper. And I say that in this way. Here was a guy who was willing to change his position to make the team better. And that the guy that you brought in Luis Arise, and you mentioned Michael, I mean, he's only hitting 288. It's not like he's not terrible, but he hasn't been as good as he was before he came here. But having a guy like him behind Bryce has changed who Bryce is as a hitter. And Harper's now, his on base percentage since Arise has gotten here is like 520.
Yeah,
or something like that. It's remarkable.
It's Stott too.
It's Stott too. Yeah, but when you see the star player of your team sacrifice his position and not feel like he has to shoulder the entire load and go up there and hit home runs to drive in the only 1 or 2 runs of the game that the team's going to score, and you see him being willing to pass the baton. He's walked 23 times in his last 15 games. That's only happened twice in the history of the franchise. Dave Hollins in 1995, Dolph Camilli in 1936 is the other. There's the other name.
Dolph Camilli. I covered
Dolph.
Dolph.
Was a good dude. I like Dolph a lot. Yeah.
But when you see that from your star player, it kind of gets everybody else saying, okay, if he's willing to do that, then we're all willing to do that. And I think yes, Arise has allowed that to happen, but Harper has been the reason that they've all kind of fallen in line to follow this approach.
Absolutely. And I go to the new edition of the 76ers when I compare it to Bryce Harper. In basketball, you want to see your superstar take control of the game. And that is something I think the detractors of LeBron James would say, when the game's on the line, he should want the ball. I don't care if the guy's open on the wing for a 3-pointer. You take the ball. You're LeBron. In baseball, you don't have to do that. And that goes to Bryce Harper's on base percentage. No, he's not hitting home runs. No, he's not hitting doubles maybe, but he's getting on base and he's scoring runs. And you look at his runs scored, and that speaks volumes to your point. And so if he can continue doing that, I would rather see, this is just me personally, is a grand slam home run great? Yeah, I'll give you the grand slam. After that, you can give me doubles and triples and singles all day long, because you know what that is? That's action. That's not a guy trotting around the bases. Yeah, I smacked one out of the yard. That's guys trying to make the next base or score a run. That is sports. That's athleticism, and that's excitement. And that's what Bryce Harper is doing now. Let him get on base. He can run the bases. He's okay. Guess who else can run the bases? As I've said, is Kyle Schwarber. You know, you can say, oh, he looks like Ted all you want. He's still got enough speed. Who did he catch last week or the week before in a rundown? He got, boom, he nailed him. And then you realize he did plenty of those linebacker drills in high school. He can play. He can run. He's got quick. And so I would rather see the brand of baseball that we've been seeing from this Phillies team than I know Schwarber, he's got 37 home runs. Yeah. At one point, he was on pace for 60-plus home runs. And now he's on pace for, I don't even know what it was, like in the 40s
maybe
somewhere.
50.
Maybe 50. So fine with me. Keep hitting the way. And he's got a practiced eye too. You see ball, you hit ball. Exactly right. You know what else? And Bob Cooney's heard me say this before. It's a Joe Garagiola quote, and I love this quote. I love it. And I say it probably 15 times this season till Ricky's ready to throw up, which is baseball gives you every chance to be great. then it puts on the pressure to show you haven't got what it takes. It never takes away the chance, and it never eases up on the pressure. And that's like life, and that's every single day of 162 that you play the game. You stink, but you prove that you don't. And it just keeps putting on that pressure every single day, but it keeps the chance hanging there like a little fruit and you grab for. And we see that every day. And that's the beauty of the sport.
It's funny. I've said that forever, Michael. Like runners on first and second, you're down 2 runs. People, oh, come on, we need the 3-run homer. Nah, I'll take the double. Let's go second and third. You get a run in there and keep the inning going. Like, I'm all about that. But one of the names that we've brought up a lot today is Luis Arise. And it's funny because he commands so much attention from Anthony, from me, from you, Michael. And the Phillies have basically said he's a rental. And I'm wondering if that's changing. Because now Bryson Stott can play a wonderful third base. And this goes to both of you, because Anthony, I don't think we've had a chance to talk about this either, but I'll start with you, Michael. Should they be looking at this as a rental, or is this guy maybe the answer that these guys need in this lineup to get it to be as good as it possibly can be?
I think he might be the answer, and a lot of it will depend on how they finish the regular season and then the playoffs. But I also think that barring a couple of guys that they view as solid superstars who either by contract or reputation, like Bryce Harper, need to remain, I think they feel, and probably this is true, that it's their duty to almost start from scratch every year. And there's a chemistry with each team that's unto itself, each edition of the Phillies. 22, when they made the World Series, was different than 23 and 24 and this year. It's every team is different, and then you try to tweak as you go along. So they could get into the playoffs. They could go to the World Series, maybe even win the whole thing. And once you hit November or December, they're going to be looking with a very critical eye on what they have with this team and in totality. And that's a tough job to do, because you think you know what you have, and then that's on paper, but on the field it's completely different. I'm sure they thought they had a great bullpen, and that bullpen stunk for a lot of the season, certainly the middle relief. Then they get Duran. That's fantastic. But even Duran, he's got 2 blown saves, and one of them, Anthony could probably tell us how many runs he gave up. That was a lock save, and you're thinking, there's just no way. Put it in the bank. That's a win, and it wasn't. So that kind of stuff happens, and they got to take a look at all this. How Arise is like 29 years old. So you're playing second base. Of all the infield positions, I mean, second base, it's not terrible wear and tear. I would certainly sign him again, but it's how it fits into their puzzle. You're paying Harper, $313 over whatever it is. You just signed Turner. Nola's got 4 more years after this one. Turner has 7. Is Turner have 7 after it's? The one thing we're not talking about Turner of late is his errors. So now someone whispered to me, and I don't know if I buy this, that moving Bohm to first base and his catch radius makes Turner more comfortable and or confident. But certainly maybe it's just the wins and we're overlooking the errors, or maybe he's just made less errors. I don't know.
Well, the one thing I was going to say about this whole thing, and I don't know if Luis, I agree with Michael was saying, I think that whether Arise is back or not will be dictated by how the rest of this season goes for the Phillies. But the thing that we've maybe overlooked here is that Bryson Stott can be your third baseman going forward. And I think that
he can be your any baseman.
but that changes everything, because when you think about it, right, you're not bringing Bohm back next year. Let's be honest. He's a free agent. He's not going to be back. And when you look at the rest of the third base free agent market, it's not very good. So maybe you sit there and say, this is the change that we needed to make. And I think Stott, what he's shown over there, having better range at third base than Alec Bohm ever did, maybe that takes a little bit of pressure off of Turner. And that's why you've seen better defensive shortstop out of Turner since this has all happened as well. I think that there's a residual effect from that as well. And so, whether or not you bring Arise back next year, I mean, that will be determined. But I think what we've learned is the Phillies have found third baseman for 2027 and beyond, and it's a guy that was already on the team in Bryson Stott.
That's because Stotty too hotty at third base. That's why.
Yes, that's Joe Weckman's got that. Joe Weckman's got that.
I'll tell you though. Now we're looking too far into the future, and I love Stott anywhere, but I look at power at third base. I need some pop there, and if you don't have it there, do you have it at second? No, Rise doesn't give you pop. And then I don't know, is Bryce Harper back at first? That's fine, but then there's no pop in the outfield again, and that's just a situation that they're going to have to address. But I am completely for Luis Rise, and Michael. I've told this to Anthony before. Back even when I was on the radio a couple of years ago, I was calling for Luis Rise to be in this lineup. I thought it was exactly what they needed, and I compared it to 1980 Phillies with Pete Rose. That they had these superstars, a bunch of them, but they weren't reaching their potential because they just didn't have that kind of glue in the lineup that Pete Rose was, that a Luis Rise may be. I would sign the guy like immediately as soon as the season's over. I don't care if you lose in the second round first. I think he's the kind of cog that you need on this team.
Yeah, and he also seems like a glue guy. And again, Ant, you're down there in the clubhouse, Bob. So are you. But when I see his demeanor in the batter's box, when I see the way he is with his teammates, when I see he's like Juan Soto, but he doesn't have the pop and he doesn't piss you off the way Soto does.
Exactly.
But he's got that joie de vivre, the way he plays the game. And I love that first couple of at bats when they were at Citizens Bank Park and how he had so much fun in that batter's box, and it was great to watch him. So I would tend to agree with you. And at 29 or even 30, you're thinking, I mean, he's got hopefully at least 5 more decent years left, if not good years. Yeah, I would think about it. But a lot of it depends. It all depends on the puzzle. And I shouldn't even bring this up because it's going to bring this way down, which is I don't even think they're playing baseball for the first, at least several months of next season. Yeah, they got to figure this out. And whether or not they're going to have a salary cap. And when Bryce Harper last year tells the commissioner of baseball to get the F out of the locker room, then, I mean, that's not good. That was a year ago. And now here we are a year later, and there's still nothing on the burner other than they're this far apart. So,
yeah. I'm gonna shift gears here on you, Michael, a little bit, because I think
get ready for this, Michael. This is going to be fun.
No, this is going to be fun. Yeah, I do. And because here's the thing, like, we all watch you every night with the Phillies, on Sundays with the Eagles and stuff. And I would love to kind of give the people who are watching an opportunity to kind of go behind the curtain a little bit for pre and post game live and what it's like and watching this, watching the games with these guys. What is going on, during the games? Like, what is happening during the games? Are you guys all sitting there together watching it? Do you guys go separately? Like, what takes place on the set while the games are going on?
That's so funny that you have those photos. I love those photos. That's so great. Well, it's different for baseball than it is for football. And we have like a baseball grouping area of desks and a football grouping area, and the same for Sixers and Flyers as well. So when Al Morgani and Scott Hartnell come in, they sit in one pocket of the newsroom versus the football and baseball and basketball. So for baseball, starting with the top, we're all in a cluster, and my desk is in the corner of the newsroom. And, because I got to be facing out at all times. You can't
You're like the Godfather. It's like the Godfather.
Right. You can't have your back.
You can't have anybody behind you.
And so I am looking next row of desks. I'm looking at Ricky and Ben and Ruben and Sean Kane, who is our producer for Phillies pre and post game live. For the Eagles, we're scattered to the 4 winds. Barrett's in one spot. He's across from our great producer, Mike Mulhern. And Jaws watches with his son-in-law Eric, and on another monitor, and he sits at a desk like this, just watching. He gets the raw feed. I'm at my desk. I think everybody should be comfortable. In the old days, when it was Ray and Vaughn and the Gov, we would all watch together. We'd be in a conference room at a conference table, have a nice spread out, and we'd be watching the game. and that would be awesome, because to me that's one of the reasons I always used to love doing Eagles and sitting in the press box, which hasn't happened for a while, is because even though there's no cheering in the press box, there was this camaraderie about watching a game together, and everybody would express their surprise or adoration at a great play without cheering, and I just think that's real cool, because it's almost like that's how I watched it with my dad when I was a kid. You watch the game together. Yeah, we watch it separately for football. Same with Amy Fadul, and I'm trying to remember Jimmy Lynam, Mark Jackson. They're kind of scattered a little bit, and then Al and Hartnell, and that's pretty. Al and Hartsey, they watch it together with Joe Fordyce, our producer.
The only picture that was missing there, Michael, was a picture of the Daily News live set.
You're right. That was the show, man. That was the show. Once they took that show down, man, the life just went out of the life.
It is amazing, and I know you get this all the time, but it is amazing how many times people will come up to me and say, like, hey, that was one of the greatest shows ever. That was a lot of fun. So that leads to my question. We had so much fun on that set, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't really need to know about. But give me one of your favorite. I have my favorite.
I have a favorite.
But give me one of your favorite moments on Daily News Live back in the day.
Well, I can laugh at it now, but I laughed at it then at the beginning, but then so
it's coming, Anthony. What we talked about, it's coming.
Here we go.
It's the only one that I can remember right now. And you know how much I love Stan Hochman, the late great Stan Hochman. It's a disaster. And Stan was on the show. He was sitting next to me. And Stan there was no one who had a better sense of humor than Stan. And John Smallwood was on, the late great John Smallwood was on the show. And I don't remember who the third panelist was, but a friend had given me a remote fart box. Okay. And basically it was a speaker, had a little remote, and when you hit the remote, the thing went, so I thought Stan is going to love this. So right before we started the show, I put it on the riser behind his chair on the floor. And I introduced Stan first so I could just move on. And I said, welcome to Daily News Live, Michael Barkann. I said, today we have Stan Hochman, and Stan visibly was shaken by it. And I said, John Smith, and Smalls had already gone, what? Like, what was that? And I just kept moving. Stan was furious. He was furious. And he thought I tried to make a fool of him, and he barely spoke that entire segment he was on. I think it was just one segment. And when he walked off the set, he MF'd me like you wouldn't believe. I mean, he wasn't looking at me, but he was that angry. And I'm like, big mistake, made a big mistake. I called him. I talked to Gloria. I said, Gloria, talk to me. I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. And so that's the funniest story that I can remember. Another one, I just saw a DJ's name on the screen, Dick Girardi. We did a Girardi makeover.
That was my favorite. I was on that night. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. And Anthony, we had a salon come in, and they gave Dick a pedicure, manicure, redid his hair, shampooed him. I think it was Joseph Anthony Salon, and DJ continued to use the woman who had cut his hair. He may still, for all I know. And go ahead.
Here's something more.
That's it, yeah.
He was also, Dick Girardi was also given a suit that night to wear.
Yeah.
Dick Girardi got inducted into the Pennsylvania Sports or the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, and he was wearing that suit.
That was the suit.
That was the suit, right, Michael? We were both there together. Yeah.
Yes, we were.
Yeah, but those and here's a quick Stan Hochman story. Stan was the antithesis of a journalist. Like, he was exactly that. And I love sitting down talking to Stan, and he was friends with my father. They I think got to the Daily News at around the same time, whatever. but Phil Jasner died. The late, great Phil Jasner, who covered the 76ers, is in the Basketball Hall of Fame and all. And I took over the beat for Phil Jasner. Well, at Phil's funeral, Stan was one of the speakers. Michael, did you speak at that funeral also? Yeah. But Stan was one of the speakers, and he talked about how great of a beat writer, like if you want to be a beat writer, Phil Jasner is who you wanted to be, and went on and on. It was one of the greatest. Everybody that spoke that day was phenomenal. I get a phone call that night at like 8 o'clock. It was a long day and a great day to celebrate Phil and all. And it was Stan Hochman. And he said, I just wanted you to know. I can't do his voice as well as other people. But when I was saying Phil was a great beat writer, I wasn't saying you weren't. And I want you to know that. And I was like, are you kidding me? You are a legend. And didn't even think of crossing my mind. And you thought enough to give me a phone call on the night that we buried a good friend and all that. So that's how great Stan Hochman was. And our staff was just phenomenal at the Daily News. And Michael, the way you brought it together on Daily News Live was incredible.
It was a blast. And I remember thinking initially, because we were 90 minutes and that it was just too long for a show, 90 minutes. And then they cut it to an hour. And I remember thinking, we need 90 minutes, especially on days. I'm talking about redoing a show. It's not even on the air anymore, but especially on days like T.O. leaves camp or you've got some kind of big story, 90 minutes goes like that. But then they cut it down to a half an hour, and then I started doing pregame and postgame exclusively, and then things change. It's which is sad, but as long as you have new things to look forward to, that's the bottom line. So
how often do people ask you about the clash with Marcus?
Not a lot, thank goodness. The one thing I regret is, one, I should have just sucked it up better than I did. I mean, he was a Marcus is Marcus, as we know. But when we had I think it might have been, because that was after the 2005 Super Bowl. Yeah. And who was the backup? It was Jeff, the backup.
Garcia.
No, not Jeff Garcia. But anyway, African-American quarterback. He was the backup in
he's quarterback for the Jets.
But anyway, he was on the set.
Wechter will remember it.
It was with Marcus, and I forget who the other panelist was. So one, I should have sucked it up there. But two, so that was for our 10th anniversary, we replayed the whole thing, and Jack Williams was in the studio. And he was coming on next to talk about this great adventure we had been on for the past 10 years. And I could just see the look come over his face. You're going to play this thing again? I mean, it was horrible the first time. And Bob's gone. There's Bob. And it was horrible the first time. And now you're going to play it again. And again, that was my fault again, because I just thought, you know what? We should be able to laugh at ourselves, but it was such a bad, awkward moment. He was such a jerk. I didn't handle it right, and that's but we're still friends. The other night, we're still friends. I'll tell you something else about Marcus Hayes. There've been a lot of greats that gone through the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications, Syracuse University, and they had their 50th anniversary. We were still doing DNL, so it's a little while ago now. Yeah. And Marcus was named, along with Bob Costas and Marv Albert and some other greats in broadcast journalism, advertising, photography, that the majors in that school. Marcus was one of the top 50 people that they brought back and honored as being, emblematic of Newhouse. So there you have it.
Yeah. Two things on this. One, I think it was Jeff Blake. Is that correct?
Jeff Blake, right?
Yes. Blake,
former Bengals quarterback.
Yes. And then the other thing is, and it just kind of a follow up off that, Michael. Did you guys ever discuss after Daily News Live went off the air? Did you ever kind of discuss potentially bringing on a show like it, in the sense of having that roundtable discussion, sit around? Like I know pre and post kind of serves in that vein, but maybe something that was more all encompassing of everything going on in Philadelphia sports at the same time.
No, because I was so surprised and disappointed when they took it off the air, and then selfishly had moved on to doing other things that I thought, all right, well, if they don't think this can work, and part of it is a show financially needs to be able to stand on its own, because you got to pay to build the sets, you got to pay, you have to pay the camera
makeup
guys.
artist.
Sorry,
the makeup Mindy. She had to get paid.
Makeup Mindy. You got to pay the makeup artist. You got to pay. I stopped wearing makeup. Mindy left. I don't wear makeup. Warts and all, baby. That's it. You're very shiny. I know. Mindy's gone. So Knights on the Round Table, and so I mean, I can't tell you a number of times, Anthony, when I thought this would be an awesome day to have Daily News Live or a program like it, and now. We have pregame and postgame, which kind of allows you to discuss some of the news of the day with regard to those sports. But you don't have something which has always bothered me, that if perfect LeBron, signing LeBron, and that's something where in the old days we would have been on the air whenever that news hit, as quickly as people could get to the station. And up and running, boom! We would have been up and running. We would have had a 6-hour Daily News Live,
yeah.
or we would have had live programming, and it just it just does not stand the test as it did before. But I'd be for it, man. I love that show. It was great.
Yeah, that's the one thing I really miss. I miss that kind of roundtable discussion that I don't think happens anymore in general.
Also, as great as this podcast is, and other podcasts are, and they are, you have to remember to tune to it. Like and it's just not the same as popping on your TV and clicking around. Boom, 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 boom. 847, there it is. 850's ESPN. You've got them. This is different. And if I leave this podcast here to go to another podcast to get back to you, it's not like flipping your
right.
remote. And I think that's the biggest problem, not to get too far afield, but that's the biggest problem with Netflix and Amazon having games. And because if there's another game on and you want to check that game out, then you're toast, man. You just block yourself out of the Amazon game to check another game, whether it's a different sport or not, and then you got to re-log in sometimes and do all that other stuff. It's a pain in the neck. So if they ever figure out that, then TV's dead to me. I mean, not so radio, because you got to be in your car. But if they figure out how to flip around as quickly on a podcast or with streaming as they do with television, that's a problem, because you literally can get anything in the world on the computer.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, Michael, because I mean, I look at and I know this is not where we wanted this conversation to go, but it's definitely it's interesting and worth bringing up. Like if you go on Netflix now, they've started, I don't know, a few months back, they started this whole podcast thing now where they're showing. They have all these contracts with these national podcasts. And so now you go to Netflix, and if you want to have that sports conversation, or if you want to tune into a true crime documentary podcast or whatever it might be, they have a whole slew of them at your disposal. So they're keeping you on platform. And I think that that's kind of where you're saying, like, trying to figure it out. I think that they're starting to figure it out, right? Like if you can house all of these podcasts in one place, if somebody could figure out how to do that in the Philadelphia market and house all the podcasts that people like in one place, then that would be the solution. But that has not happened yet. But you can see on a national scale where some of these platforms are trying to go.
Yeah, you're. I did not know that, and just based on what you just told me, I'll go check that out and see what the deal is. The other thing I've often thought, and I don't know about you guys, but I love watching the Australian Open. I love watching the Open Championship. I love watching Wimbledon. I love watching the French Open. You know why? It's morning sports, and it's live, and it means something. I love U.S. Open's coming up next week, the week after, tennis, and there'll be morning matches on. And I'm thinking, I don't know if it would work for the NFL other than what we see in London or other places where you got one game 6 times a season that you can watch at 9:30 in the morning. But I just think it's so cool. I don't know if I told you this, Bobby, and I'm sorry to tell you now if you didn't know it because you love this guy. But we lost my father-in-law back in March, and
no.
yeah, Hank. Remember Hank?
Michael, I'm so sorry. Hank is the
Thank
best.
you. He was just a great one. He was, as you
I
know,
loved him.
and but he lived with us after my mother-in-law passed away. He lived with us for 4 years, and we get up in the morning, have our coffee, he'd have his yogurt, we feed the dogs, we talk about, we make the world right, and then Wimbledon's on or the French Open's on, or you can watch something at 10 a.m. and it's something that means something, and is it the NFL or NBA or baseball? No, I mean, it's mostly it's not, but I'm thinking, would that work? Would that work? How many people are nationwide? How many people are home? It's 11 a.m. I just finished with Bob and Anthony, and now I'm going to go watch, some national sporting event that's live that means something. Would you get any numbers for that? I don't know, but I just think it's so cool to be able to have that on, even if it's just background, because it means something.
Yeah. Well, Michael, let me tell you what was cool today was having you with us, and I know I kept you way longer than I asked you to be with us. So we thank you. Hope you.
Am I going to see you tonight? Are you in the box tonight?
I will be there tonight.
Anthony's in the box tonight.
I'll be there tonight.
Okay.
I'm hosting a party. And one thing, I do have to apologize to the listeners, to you guys. We have 2 parties going on at the house this weekend. One is for 80 people. Another one tonight is for a smaller crowd, like 25 people. So there are tents going up. There's people around the house doing things. So I apologize for any background noise that we had today. But
wait, what are the parties
for?
Of stuff.
Our son Tommy, who our special son Tommy, is turning 30 years old. So we are having a huge 2 huge blowouts for Tommy. Yeah.
Happy birthday to Tommy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't think you can ever have enough parties in life or at your home enough parties. That's what life's about. Wait, one more thing. So happy birthday to Tommy. Wapner Newman, I see that up there. They have a commercial when Joanne Duran comes out, and I love this. One of the reasons that we decided to sponsor the closers because we're closers. I thought
that is good. That is a great.
It was.
I was having somebody at Wapner Newman.
I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, just about that, and they said, and this is a business person in the Philadelphia market who said it was the greatest advertisement opportunity that someone has ever taken advantage of. Was Wapner Newman sponsoring the Joanne Duran entrance because every sports fan who would be watching the Phillies game was conditioned for there to be a commercial at that time.
Right.
And by the way, we're going to show you the thing that everyone wants to see and still get an ad in that way. He said it was just brilliant. And it's really the best thing that you guys have going over there as far as an ad. That's
the only thing that's missing from that introduction, and I actually texted back and forth with none other than John Middleton about this, is he runs in darkness. So so I said, how about put a spotlight on him, maybe tinged with a little red, and just follow him in. And John wrote back, I like it, but the player decides his intro. The only thing I could understand them not doing it is whether or not it messed with his eyes, which the batters wouldn't like. but that was not said to me. But I just thought it would be so cool because you got all the sideboards with the tarantula doing its thing, and everyone's got their lights out. Put a little spot on it, follow them in, and
there you go.
Keep pushing that on the show.
We'll see. Yeah, next time I text John, I'll let him know, Michael.
Yeah, do that. Okay. Hang on, John. What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I have a meeting with Jeffrey this afternoon, so I'll get to John after I get to
get that, and then Josh.
Yeah, I'll get to him. Yeah, no, I crossed that bridge.
I'm not doing that.
No.
Okay.
All right, Michael, thank you so much.
Love you guys. You the man, Joe Wechter. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Michael. Michael Barkann from NBC Sports Philadelphia. He's got stories galore, and he could tell them all day long, Anthony.
Yeah, he's the best. Well, I just love talking to Michael. He's always got some of the best stories. So
he does.
Bobby took up our whole thing. I don't even know if we have time to get that. I mean, we're over an hour at this point. This is awesome.
I know, and I wish we could stay longer. But as I said, there's a bunch of people around this house doing things that I kind of have to attend to. But we hope you enjoyed our show today. It was awesome having Michael on. Michael's such a great dude that I actually texted him before to come on, and he couldn't that day, but he said, look, I will do it whenever you want. And then sure enough, all I do is ask, and he's here. So appreciate him. Anthony, have a great time down at the Phillies tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Luzardo's going tonight, right?
What's that?
Luzardo goes tonight.
Luzardo tonight. Yes, Luzardo. We don't know who's pitching for the Cardinals. They haven't announced the starter yet.
One of those games.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those games.
Yeah.
So yeah, Luzardo tonight, Painter tomorrow, and Sanchez on Sunday. That's the weekend against the Cardinals. And thanks to Michael for bringing up our sponsor.
I know. I was just going to say, hey, if you found yourself on the injured list, well, you can get help now. Call Wapner Newman, Pennsylvania and New Jersey's premier medical malpractice and injury attorneys. All you have to do is call them at 215-569-0900, or you can reach them at wapnernewman.com. Anthony, great job today. We will see you shortly. Everybody, thank you for joining us.
And just so you know, Bob, and I guess for Joe Wechter's purposes as well, next week, because of our weird travel schedule, actually the next week and a half, we're going on the road with the Phillies. Tim's going to be in Seattle on Tuesday. I'm in LA next Friday. So we're going to flip days. So it'll be you and me on Tuesday. It'll be you and Tim on Friday. And then you're in Arizona. So Tim and I will take the following Tuesday. So kind of a little bit out of order the way we're going.
We will get it done.
But we will get it done.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you back here soon. Thanks, everybody.